How do I follow up on a massive book reading? I mean, people are going to be expecting something big, aren't they now? Damn, I raised expectations. Well, maybe I should do something a bit more calm. Yeah, something uncontroversial, just to take a break. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. If a girl in a BDSM relationship calls her boyfriend daddy, does that make him a poppadom? Today's guest, Jordan B. Peterson.
If there's no God, so if there's no higher value, let's say, if there's no transcendent value, then you can do whatever you want. And that's the question that he's investigating. And you see, this is why I have such frustration, say, with people like Sam Harris, the sort of radical atheists, because they seem to think that once human beings abandon their grounding in the transcendent, that the plausible way forward is with a kind of purist rationality that automatically attributes to other people equivalent value. It's like, I just don't understand that. They believe that that's the rational pathway. What the hell is irrational about me getting exactly what I want from every one of you whenever I want it at every possible second?
Well, to answer that very briefly, enlightened self-interest. Would you want to live in a society where everyone else felt that same way and could murder you for the chewing gum in your pocket at any moment? Or would you prefer to live in an ordered society with some relative safety? I think that seems pretty obvious. Now, Jordan Peterson has often been referred to me as being a good case for theism. I haven't found that to be true. Rather, I find that Peterson doesn't ever explicitly actually say that he believes in a god, and all of his arguments are based on the supposed utility of religious belief. In other words, he believes in belief, which is something Dan Dennett has covered and tackled quite often in his work, that people have this idea, even if they don't necessarily believe themselves, or if they have severe doubts, that somehow these beliefs are still worth it, they're good for society. It's an almost patronizing point of view that religion is something that's good for the little people. You know, it keeps them in line, it keeps people in their place, it maintains order, and so on. But there's some problems with that point of view, and Peterson doesn't seem to acknowledge or even understand those problems. It says, if there is no God, what is there to prevent us from doing whatever we want? Well, to all intents and purposes, even whether there is or not, there is no God. There are no miracles, there is no divine punishment here, there is no visible manifestation anywhere of divine justice or whatever. So at least here on Earth we appear to be on our own. You know, we still enforce laws. You know, we still punish people here on this earthly plane. So to all intents and purposes, we already act societally, individually, everywhere as though there is no God. So that doesn't seem to help or get us anywhere. Further, belief in God doesn't actually seem to help. You look at the criminality stats, the arrest statistics, and the religious, at least Christians, tend to be arrested and end up in prison at roughly the same proportion that they exist in society. In other words, Christianity appears to have no discernible effect whatsoever on people's moral behaviour. Atheists are not a great amount of the population, about 15% at the outside, but they're a tiny, minuscule fraction of the people in prison. So correlation is not causation, of course, but clearly being an atheist doesn't make you more likely to be criminal, more likely to murder, more likely to thieve, anything like that. So immediately that this moral dimension of what Peterson argues for the utility of religion is just blown out the water. Now, there may be other reasons for this. Atheism is correlated with higher intelligence. No, I'm not calling you stupid if you're a theist. It's also correlated with relative comfort and wealth in society. And these are things, and higher education. And these are all things that impact on criminality. So if you're more intelligent, you're less likely to be criminal. If you're better educated, you're less likely to be criminal. If you're wealthier, you're less likely to be criminal. And the inverse is true. If you're poorer, you're more likely to be religious. If you're less educated, you're more likely to be religious. If you're less intelligent, you're more likely to be religious. Again, this is a broad sweeping demographic thing. I'm not saying that any individual atheist is super smart or any individual theist is super dumb just because of what they believe. This is just broad societal trends, which is what we're talking about here. And even when you look at the country scale, I mean, nations with high levels of organic atheism, so that tends to be the Scandinavian nations, tend to be higher on the Human Development Index, have higher societal happiness, to be more stable, have less crime, and so on. So where is this utilitarian effect that religion allegedly has? Okay, well, leaving that aside, let's assume that religion has a positive utilitarian effect. Let's just take it as a given. Does this have any bearing over the argument over whether God is real or true or not? Plenty of people have different religious myths, different stories, different mythologies, different beliefs as a society that orders that society. It can be things like nationalism or patriotism or the way Americans practically worship their constitution and things. We have these societal, cultural beliefs, but they're all over the place. They're all different in different areas. So you can't point to that and say any particular one belief, it is the right one, is the true one, that there is a God, or there isn't on that basis, because they're all different, they're all competing, and they all serve similar functions. But religious belief is built on sand. There is no evidence to support the contention that there is a God. So if your entire moral structure, if your entire societal structure is built upon that unquestioning belief, then when that belief is shattered, then where is the underpinning of your society? I mean, Peterson says it himself, if there's no God, why should I act morally? Because he's not thinking morally, he's thinking religiously. So if you erode someone like that's belief in God, what is there to hold them back? But he's got it backwards. If the only thing that is holding you back is that some supernatural force is watching you, then you're already a psychopath. You already have a problem. But if your good behaviour is entirely contingent on the idea that this all-knowing Sky Daddy is spying on you voyeuristically the whole time, then you've got bigger problems. And when that belief is shattered or undermined, then you might see this immoral behaviour. Whereas if your morality and your ethical structure and so on is based upon rationality, is based upon things that actually exist, is based on your own self-interest as part of a community, that's much more resilient, much stronger, and it's not built on sand, because those things can't be taken away so easily, because they're real, they're demonstrable, they're there. You can make a good argument that these religions serve a utility in that sense, in giving us a common mythology and morality tales and however else you want to phrase it. But it comes with a huge downside: the irrationality, the dogmatism, the way in which these scriptures are held on a pedestal, but demand that you punish and hate certain kinds of people. That's not necessarily based on reason. Whereas reason's much more adaptable, new evidence can come along and you can change your positions, you can evolve and develop. Religions tend to resist that, though there are always liberal wings, and act as a drag upon moral and ethical social change. And we can get all the benefits that these things allegedly provide without these flaws, without the absolute faith, without the dogmatism, without the drag that it produces on science and innovation and social development. You don't have to throw out the Bible so long as you understand that it's myth. and you can construct other myths and other stories. Star Wars is as good as the Bible for a morality tale, but everyone knows that it's fiction, so that it's actually better because you understand that it's fiction. You can draw the moral lessons without treating it as some divine absolute from on high. And I think this is the problem. Jordan Peterson is so rooted in this religious mindset, this religious thought set, this kind of blinkered tunnel of the way that he interprets religion, that, like he says, he cannot understand the other point of view. And that is the other problem with religion, that it locks people into this concept. But I don't find his arguments for religion convincing at all. Like Dennett says, it's belief in belief, it's belief in this utility of religion, but the evidence isn't there for the utility of religion. He never actually seems to argue for a god. He never seems to argue, most importantly to me, that this is true. He's just arguing that belief has function and use, and I don't agree, and that doesn't address the issue that most concerns me, whether it's true or not. Zang.